right, so welcome back. Welcome back to Intentional Living. This is session 4. And our chapter this week, our session this week is entitled Search Until You Find Your Why. Search until you find your why. Sometimes I think this topic is overdone. We've all heard of Simon Sinek's work called Start With Why. And there's been a lot of discussion over the last few years. I think it's gaining momentum in, let's call it personal development, self-help, whatever those fields, about the importance of finding your why. But that stuff really goes back eons. In fact, in the Bible, it says, without a vision, people perish. So it's pretty old concept that when we know why we're here and where we're going and what we're doing and what our purpose is, it can lead to a more fulfilling life. So this is going to help for our session today. If you did the homework from our session 2 sessions ago, which is where I asked you to write down 50 things, 50 positive things about yourself. So I would love to know in the chat who actually did the work, but I asked you to write down 50 positive things about yourself. In fact, don't stop until you get to 50. For some people, it was easy. For some people, it was damn near impossible. But they could be small things or large things, but hopefully you did it. Hopefully you did it, because it is very important and it's going to help inform some of what we're discussing today. So, a lot of people really never figure out their why. Some people think it's beyond their ability to determine. It's too big. Some people think it's for other people, important people, significant people. But the reality is, when you have a purpose to your life, it can inform everything that you do. And I'm curious how many of you, and I know many of you, but, and if I don't know you, I know people like you, because I've been doing this for 18 years now. How many of you find that you go through your days and you're sort of playing dodgeball almost with all of the things that are coming at you, whether it's, things at home, things at work, with customers, with coworkers, with business affiliates, just all of the facets of life that seem to be coming at you from all directions. And it feels as though you're just reacting or responding to what's coming at you, that you're not the one actually creating your own schedule or making determinations on how to spend your time based on what you want versus what it seems as though others want from you. Has anybody else had that experience? You're just sort of going through life, reacting to what's happening around you. And so it can feel like, well, who has time to step back and figure out their why when there's all of these people and all of these situations in my face that are requiring me to respond, whether it's my spouse, my kids, my customers, my coworkers, my boss, whatever it might be. And so it can be difficult to think, how am I going to find my purpose when I have to do all of these things for all of these people? It's particularly troubling for people who are self-employed or who run a small business, because you're sort of in charge of a lot of different moving parts. And even if you're in a leadership position in a corporate environment, there are a lot of people that are that are sort of tugging at your coattails, needing you to do something for them. But I would suggest to you today that the time that you take to step away from the busyness of everyday life, to put some thought into, what am I here for? The more it's going to help you with your schedule. We're going to talk about that. So I believe that everyone has a why. John Maxwell does too. That's why he wrote a book called Intentional Living. And as we've been discussing in these last few sessions, there are many areas of life where we are aspirational. Aspirational. I want to do this. I need to do this. I should do this. I ought to do this. I'm going to do this. We're aspirational. We really do have the intention to do whatever it is that we're talking about. The reality is that for many of us, there are actually very few areas of our life where we are intentional. right? Aspiration versus intention. Aspiration is a dream, a wish, a goal. Intention is action. Intention is action. And so that's what we want to talk about, is how do we move from being aspirational to intentional? And so John Maxwell says in his book, Intentional Living, that the closer you get to finding your why, the more it will fuel everything that you do. So before we get into some of this content today, I'm going to ask you to think for a moment about some organizations. Could be a business, could be a charitable organization, could be an institution. What are some of the organizations you can think of right now that you know have a great purpose? Just think about that and maybe jot down one or two. Again, could be a business that you know is very purpose driven. Maybe it's a brand that you're familiar with or one that you are a customer of. Maybe it's an organization, a church, a school, a hospital, whatever it might be. It could be, I guess it could even be a sports team. The Olympics is coming up. Maybe there's a team that you follow, but this is an organization that serves a great purpose. And if you can think about one or two of those right now, I want you to ask yourself, what do you observe about this particular organization that helps you to believe that it has a purpose? What is it about that organization that helps you to know they clearly have a purpose? Whether it's a brand, an institution, a team, whatever it might be. Because there's a clue to you there about how that organization behaves, what it says and what it does, that can help you understand what its purpose is. And that can give you a clue as to how you might be living your life differently when you have that real purpose behind you. So, there's the idea that purpose is something that you do, right? This is my purpose, so this is what I do. But purpose can also be the thing that determines what you do. And that's what I really get excited about talking about, because I work with people every day who have to try to figure out what to do first, and then what to do next, and what to do next. I work with people who take action on a daily basis. And that's required. It's required to build a career. It's required to build a business. But the reality is, if you're not taking focused action that comes from a sense of your purpose, then you can find yourself really busy and yet not very productive. Right? Have you found yourself in the past at other times where you felt super busy? Like, I hate that word busy, because what does it even mean? But we all use it. I'm so busy. And then the end of the day comes and you're exhausted from being busy all day. But if you turn around and look in the rearview mirror, you would realize, wow, I actually didn't get anything done that is moving me forward. Or it feels like I was very busy, but I didn't accomplish anything that's actually going to put money in the bank. So we've all had that experience. And so when we find that why, so I want you for our time together today to put aside all the talk about your big why that you've heard, the books you've read about your big why, all of those things. Put it all aside and just think about the word purpose. Because I think we've all gotten used to the big why, and we've made it something really dramatic or beyond our ability to comprehend or discover for ourselves. And I want you to reframe it today as, what is my purpose? So when you find your why, your purpose, you'll find your way. You'll find your way. So this is the reality that when we think about significance, and I'll remind you again of what John Maxwell says. He says, anyone can become successful. And we all know that. You can do the work that it would require to become a success in a given area. But he says few people find a way to become significant. However, he says, once you taste significance, success will never again satisfy. So this is the idea that you're moving beyond success into significance. The truth is, though, that's not usually anything, truthfully, it's not really anything spectacular. It's those small daily steps that add up to this life of significance. So I want to talk a little bit um, about some of the benefits of discovering your purpose. Some of the benefits. I'm going to read you 5 words. And as you think of these words, I want you to be able to jot down which one is most appealing to you. Which one is most appealing to you? The first one is freedom. The second one is confidence. The third one is momentum. The fourth word is impact. And the fifth word is longevity. Longevity. So just think about freedom, confidence, momentum, impact, and longevity. Which of those 5 words, those benefits, seems most appealing to you? Just jot that down, because I want you to keep that in the back of your mind today as we go through this process. And when you can find your purpose in life, your real purpose for being here. I believe that we all have one. John believes we all have one. I'm doing this right now. This is a 40-day process. It's called the Purpose-Driven Life, and it's really about discovering, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? So obviously it's something that many people, this has sold over 35 million copies, according to the cover of the book. So I think a lot of people are curious about finding their purpose in life. So when we can find that purpose, we can begin to focus on others. So the word freedom in this context is about, if we're spending all of our time trying to figure out what we're supposed to do and figuring out if we're doing it the right way and for the right amount of time, and is it working, we become very self-focused. And for most people, spending an inordinate amount of time focusing on themselves gets really uncomfortable. Now, for some people, they love themselves. They love to talk about themselves. They love to think about themselves. They love to tell you about themselves. And how many of you, by a show of hands, love to be around people who just always want to talk about themselves? Like, no hand is going up. No hand is going up, because nobody wants to be around somebody who only wants to talk about themselves. At some point, don't you get tired of looking in the mirror and thinking about yourself? So when you find your purpose, you can actually achieve some freedom, because now you're free to go focus on other people and tasks and vacations and your family, your customers, etc. You get to focus on other people because you know what you're here to do. You're clear on that. You can just move forward and do that. Take the attention off of yourself and focus on other people, because no one wants to be around you when all you're doing is talking about you and how you're trying to find yourself. Okay, number 2, knowing your purpose can give you confidence, because you're solid in what you're doing. So you have a level of confidence that allows you to go out and take action. You're not always looking to see what are other people thinking, how are they responding. You're not always questioning, am I doing the right thing? When you're driven by a purpose, you have confidence. Now, there have been so many studies done. These are studies done in terms of, intimate relationships, but in particular, men and women say that the most attractive quality in a potential mate is confidence. Not physical attributes, not intellectual capacity, but confidence. Confidence, hands down, wins as one of the most attractive qualities in another person. And so I think you know that when you meet someone that's confident, and I'm talking about an inner knowing. I'm not talking about an egotism that, sort of screams, because actually when you meet someone that's overly confident, they usually have a lack of confidence. That's just how it shows up for them. I'm talking about a self-confidence that's fueled by purpose, that allows someone to just wake up every day and know what they're here to do. And that's attractive to other people. So if you're in a role of leadership or you're in a sales role, don't you understand that people want to follow you and people want to buy from you when you're confident? So knowing your purpose can give you a greater sense of confidence. All right, number 3, momentum. Momentum. How does knowing your purpose help you build momentum? Well, when you're living from purpose, you're living out of your skill set. We're going to talk about this today because there are some innate skills, talents, qualities, and gifts that you have, that you were born with, that were put there inside of you, that are a clue to what your purpose actually is. If you're really good at something, if you're really good at it, there's a good chance that it's going to be a clue as to what your purpose and what your purpose is. So you build momentum because you take talents that are innate to you and you build on those talents. And who doesn't want a little more momentum, right? So far, are you tracking with me? I want more freedom in my life. I don't want to be a slave to my work, to to my circumstances or anything else. I want the freedom for me to choose how I spend my time. Knowing my purpose can help me do that. Number 2, I want more confidence. I don't want to always be second guessing myself, needing validation from external sources to ensure that I'm doing the right thing. I want the confidence to know that I'm doing what I need to do. Number 3, I want more momentum. Like a snowball rolling downhill. Like I want that momentum. I don't want every day to feel like I'm having to push a train from a dead stop. I want that train to always be in motion, and with a little tap, it's going even faster. So we're building on our talents. I'll go back to your homework from the last session. I asked you to write down 50 things about yourself, 50 positive qualities about yourself. And if you did that, then there's a good chance that somewhere in that list of 50, there's some indication about what some of your natural talents are. Those can help you find your purpose. All right, number 4, impact. That was another word, right? When you know your purpose and you're living out of your purpose, you're going to have a greater impact on yourself, on your family, on your clients, your coworkers, whatever it might be. You're going to have a greater impact in the world when you're living out of your own unique purpose. Right? Impact is actually, it's my second value. Freedom is my top value. We've done this before, gone through the values exercises. No matter whether it's my business or my personal life, freedom is always number 1 for me, and impact is always number 2. And in my business, impact, is right there. So impact is important. I want to have an impact on the world around me. And so when you know your purpose, you can impact more people. And then lastly, longevity. My goal is not to live forever, but it is to live every day that I'm alive. It is to live every day that I'm alive. And so I live in an over 55 community, and there are many, many people here that are retired. And I watch them. Some of them have great purpose and they're still very active, but some, frankly, are spending their day at the pool getting wasted. I mean, it's the truth. They're throwing cornhole at 9 a.m., shooting fireball. They have lost a sense of purpose. And it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad to watch people that probably once had a great career, but they were of the mindset that, you do your time and then you get your gold watch and then you move to Margaritaville and start getting wasted at 9 a.m. at the pool. Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say, I will never retire, but I will rewire. And so I want that longevity. I want to be able to do the work that I do as long as I want to do it. And when I'm no longer doing it as part of a business, I want to do it in other capacities. I know my purpose, right? So the goal in life should not be to retire and sit on your front porch in a rocking chair, knitting, or standing at the fishing hole with your fishing pole. I'm not saying you shouldn't do those things. I don't know about the knitting, I mean, unless you like to knit. I'm not saying you shouldn't find some time in your life today and upon retirement where you have some time to relax and travel. But if you're clear on your purpose, you'll find a way to continue to do that even when it's no longer your job. Does that make sense? I want that longevity, and I hope you do too. I think we're put here to make a difference. And however we do that, whether it's what we do for pay or for play, we need to find a way to continue to do that. That's living fully until you die. So I don't know which one of those 5 appealed to you most: freedom, confidence, momentum, impact, or longevity. But when you know your purpose, you're able to get the benefits of all 5 of those, all of them come to you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a quick story John Maxwell tells in the book Intentional Living, that when he was a young pastor years and years ago in Hillham, I don't even know where that was, like Indiana or something. There were about like 11 houses in this town, but he took over this small church, and his goal was to have 300 people attend the church. Well, there weren't 300 people in town, but he set the goal, he said it out loud, and he put the congregation to the task of inviting people. And he traveled around and went to surrounding towns, and they built this thing up. So on this particular Sunday, it was their goal Sunday of 300 people. The church was packed. It was packed to overflowing. People were on the front porch. They were in the aisles. They were all over the place. And when the final count came in, it was 299 people in a town of like 11 homes. And so John said, I'm not speaking until we hit 300. And so he crossed his arms. And they said, well, what are you going to do? Like, everybody's here. Everybody's here. There can't be any more people. He said, I'll go find them. So he walked out of the front door of the church, and there he stood alone. And he looks across the street, and there's the gas station. And there's old Sandy and Joe sitting outside in front of the gas station. He walked across the street, and they said, well, Pastor, did you hit your goal? And he said, no, I'm one short. Which one of you wants to be the hero today? And so they said, we both want to be the hero. They locked the shop, the gas station. They went across the street, walked in. The place erupted in elation. They had achieved their goal. And John says it was about that process that he started to understand his purpose in life. And that was to use leadership to add value to people. Now, John went on to build one of the largest, churches in the country at the time, and ultimately decided to leave the ministerial world to take his concepts on leadership into the business world. And today, almost 100 books later, and countless speaking engagements, and a gigantic coaching, speaking, and training company, of which yours truly is a proud member. His goal continues to be realized, and he has multiplied his ability to impact the world by using leadership to add value to people. How many of you would agree with this statement? And it's a bold statement, but I mean it. Everyone. Who does that leave out? It doesn't leave out anyone. Everyone deserves to be led well. How many of you would agree with that statement? You can raise your hand. Everyone deserves to be led well. That's from your family all the way up to the highest offices of government. And every business, every organization along the way, everyone deserves to be led well. So I would say John Maxwell is pretty clear on his purpose, and he has devoted his life to living out that purpose. John's famous for saying, God's gift to us is our potential, and our gift to God is realizing it. At 77 years old, every year when I'm at the John Maxwell Conference, he is on that stage, kicking ass and taking names. The man is not slowing down. He's not slowing down. He says he's got about 13 more books left to write, and he's 77 years old. So I don't know about you, that is a purpose. So I want to talk to you about Dolly Parton. We all know who Dolly Parton is. I watched a music video last night on YouTube. Dolly Parton did a music video with a band called For King and Country. There's a new movie out about that particular family. I can't remember what it's called, but I haven't seen it yet, but it looks like it's really good. But she did a music video, a remake of one of their great songs called God Only Knows. And I mean, Dolly, y'all, this is a woman that has managed in all of these decades to escape all the tabloid gossip, all of the negativity. She appeals to people on all sides of any spectrum of anything. And part of the reason is because she knows her purpose. From the time she was a little girl, she used to put a little tin can on a broomstick and sing into it. She always knew that she wanted to be an entertainer. And she didn't quit. She kept going until she got to Nashville. She ended up, as many of you probably know, singing with Porter Wagoner. And one of the people in the band gave her, as a birthday gift, a copy of Norman Vincent Peale's book, The Power of Positive Thinking. And she read that book and realized, this is what I need to continue to do at a higher level. And the crux of the book is dream big, think big, and pray big. And that's the vision that Dolly adopted. And we all know, the impact she has made on the world, that at her age, I don't even know what her age is, and I know she's in her late 70s, that she is still, her voice is still crystal clear. Her attitude, everything about her, like there's no one that doesn't like Dolly Parton. I challenge you to find someone who doesn't love Dolly. And that's what happens when you know your purpose, and she's known it for a long time. So the first question you're going to ask yourself is this: how can I add value to others? John adds value through leadership. Dolly adds value through her voice, through her songs, and they're so uplifting, right? Everybody knows that about Dolly. She's a positive person. So how can you add value to others? And how can you get quiet enough to listen for an answer? And I'm going to challenge you this week to really take some time. This is a common theme in our time together in intentional living, is that each week you've got to spend 20, 30 minutes alone, in silence, uninterrupted, no phone, no computer, no email, no social media, where you can just be alone with you and your thoughts, where you can ask the questions and listen for the answers that are coming from within you. So I want to give you some clues to help you find your purpose, to help you find your why. So I'm going to want you to write these questions down, and I'm going to give you a little information about each one. I share my stories with you guys as a way to just get you to be thinking for yourself. So the first question that can give you a clue as to your why is, what do you cry about? What do you cry about? What keeps you up at night? What do you think about when you really are saddened? Now, for some of you, part of your purpose is being involved in charitable organizations and making a difference there. For some of you, it's living out through your own business what your purpose is. For some of you, it's within your family. So what makes you cry? What makes you cry? So I'll give you a couple of examples. I know that my purpose is impact. That's my purpose. I know it. I've known it since I was a young child. I wouldn't have had the language for it then, but when I really reflect on my life, I know that's how it has shown up. And so one of the things that makes me cry is human trafficking. And so the Operation Underground Railroad was started by Tim Ballard, and its mission is to end human trafficking. And so it's something that makes me cry. It's devastating to me. Now, there's a good clue as to why that makes me cry, because I know that my number one value is freedom. And human trafficking is the removal of freedom from people, in particular children and women. But people are trafficked all over the world now for a variety of reasons. It's not just for sex, it's for labor. There are all sorts of reasons that people are trafficked, but it makes me cry. Now, what I know is that the impact that I can have on Operation Underground Railroad is a financial impact, right? They're not going to hire me to go in and do the work that they do. I'm not qualified for that. That is for military and law enforcement, and also people that are able to build a lead vault around their soul, because it's soul crushing work. But I can impact that organization through my mouth, through sharing it with you and through donating money. That's one of the things that makes me cry. Now, in my business, when I think about the impact that I can have personally through my skills and talents, what makes me cry is unfulfilled potential. When I meet someone, they're a 10 to me in terms of what they can do. Not saying that people are capable of achieving things that are outside of their natural gifting. Right? If I met you and you're 5'2" and your dream is to be a star on the NBA or the WNBA, that's not your potential. That's not your potential. Okay. So that's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about the potential that is unique to you. That's unique to you. When I see people that have great potential in a given area and they are not realizing that potential, it breaks my heart because I see them as a 10 in that area. And the reality is that if each of us, this is my belief, but I stand on it. It's a hill I'll die on. If each of us truly lived up to our potential, the world would change overnight. That's what I believe. Too many people are looking for them to do something. Somebody needs to do something about that. They need to do something about that, right? Looking outside of ourselves. But if each of us, every person on this planet, truly believed that I was put here for a purpose, I was given a unique set of gifts, talents, and skills, and if I use those, I will find my purpose. And when I live my purpose, I truly believe the world would change overnight. It would be heaven on earth. And I believe that. So that's what I cry about. People who are not realizing their potential. And luckily for me, that's the work I get to do every day, helping people find their potential and then live it out. So what do you cry about? I hope this is helping you to reflect on what is it out there. We are all different. My purpose is not yours. This is about finding yours. One clue could be to think about what it is that you cry about. So if this hasn't come to you in the last couple of minutes here, as I've talked about what makes me cry, then I hope that you'll spend some time this week looking for that. It's very important. All right, second question. What do you sing about? Like what gets you jumping up and down for joy, turning cartwheels, doing a happy dance? What are the things that just blow you away, that make you so excited? I'm going to read you a quote. This is in the book, if you have the book, on page 95. And this is a quote by one of my favorite poets, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And he says, "The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well." And I agree with that completely. So John says, "I believe that when people experience what Emerson wrote about, they will discover their greatest joy." So what is it that you sing about? I'm going to talk about myself again. I'm using my examples to get you to think. I'll tell you what makes me sing. When people that I know have great potential start taking action towards achieving it. I'll give you some examples. Sometimes people come to me for coaching, and we quickly, through conversation, learn that this person never takes a day off, much less a vacation. They don't know how to put their work down. It follows them wherever they go. And so that breaks my heart. And most people who get into business for themselves because they want some freedom and flexibility. And then the freedom they get is the freedom to work 7 days a week. And the flexibility they get is they can work any or all of the 24 hours in every day. And I've never met anyone who says, "I got into business for myself so I could work 7 days a week and never take a day off, and I don't take a vacation." I've never met anyone who said that. In fact, they all say the opposite. And so when I have a client who begins to take control of their schedule, They begin to get intentional and purposeful about building systems, about leveraging appropriately. And then they start taking a day off. They take a vacation. That makes me sing. That makes me sing. I'll tell you something else. People who come to me and in the beginning of building, or maybe at some point in building their career, they've listened to the advice, hear me, advice of other well-meaning people. You should do this. You should do that. He does that. She does that. They do that. You should do that. And so they take that advice and start doing that thing that he said, she said, they do, he does, she does, some book said, some other coach said, and never once have those people asked, what do you want? What do you want? What is your life about? What matters to you? What are your values? What are your skills? What are your talents? What are your gifts? What do you want to achieve? So people come to me and they've been doing all sorts of things, none of which are working. Why? Because they didn't ask the right questions. What do you want? What do you value? Tell me about your family. How do you like to spend your time? What are you good at? What do you suck at? They didn't ask those questions. So they said, you should do this. You should do that. Well-meaning advice. And when someone comes to me, and whether it's their business, their career, their finances, whatever it is, they realize that they need to focus on what they want. And we spend some time figuring that out. And then we help craft a plan to help them achieve their goals. And they take control of their business. They take control of their career. They implement systems and they create a plan that matters to them. I start singing. That's when I do my happy dance. Tell you another one. I've worked with numerous people over the years that are either in dysfunctional relationships or no relationship. They don't have time to date. They can't even think about getting married. They're married to their business. They're married to their career. And it's been some of the proudest moments of my life to be at the wedding, in particular, recently, of two of my clients. They didn't get married to each other. They got married to different people. One had been in a going nowhere relationship for a long time and was finally able to make an end of that, and then fell in love and got married, and now is working hard to become the best partner that they can be to their spouse. Another who said, I'm not dating. I don't have time for that. I'm married to my business, and was finally able to relax, go on some dates, fall in love, and now that person is married. That makes me sing, because that's the relationship that can make the biggest difference for people. So whatever it might be, what makes you sing? For me, it's helping people realize what their purpose is and take steps towards living that. Getting off the hamster wheel, getting off the treadmill, getting out of the rat race, and taking the time to build something that makes a difference. What makes you sing? Hopefully you're thinking and writing some things down. And then the third question is, what do you dream about? What do you dream about? So I'm going to read you, this is again out of the book, and this is on page 99. And John says, if you could accomplish anything in the world that would make a difference in the lives of others, what would it be? What would it be? If you could do anything you wanted and knew you would fail, what would you do? And if you could live out your wildest dreams, what would they look like? So I want you to answer those three questions. If not now, then at some point before we meet again. If you could accomplish anything in the world that would make a difference in the lives of others, what would it be? And I'll tell you what, I am thrilled that over the last 13, 14 years now, I have devoted myself to figuring that out, because it's the work I get to do every day. I get to live out my wildest dream. So what is yours? If you could accomplish anything in the world that would make a difference in the lives of others, what would it be? If you could do anything you wanted and you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? And if you could live out your wildest dream, what would that look like? It's worth thinking about. Rabbi Harold Kushner, you might know that name. His book, oh my gosh, years ago was called When Bad Things Happen to Good People. What a great book. But anyway, Rabbi Kushner wrote, our souls are not hungry for fame, comfort, wealth, or power. Our souls, you're like, I'm hungry for fame, comfort, wealth, and power. But he says our souls are not hungry for fame, comfort, wealth, or power. Those rewards create almost as many problems as they solve. More money, more problems. Now, by the way, I want more money. Okay, so let's get that clear here. But more money, more problems. More authority, more problems. More relationships, more problems. Okay. But he says our souls are hungry for meaning. Our souls are hungry for meaning, for the sense that we have figured out how to live so that our lives matter, so that the world will be at least a little bit different for our having passed through it. So what does your soul crave? How do you want to make a difference in the world? You know, none of us know when the end is coming. There's never been a Brinks truck or a U-Haul following a hearse. You can't take it with you, right? I'm not saying you don't make provisions for tomorrow. That's the responsible, appropriate thing to do. But where's your heart? Where your treasure is, there your heart is. So what are you building up? What is your soul craving right now? How do you want to make a difference? How can you uniquely add value to others? There's something you can do that I can't do. Only you can do it. What is that thing for you? What skills do you have that can help others' lives transform? And in fact, you know, how can you actually achieve a life of significance? This isn't hyperbole. This is the meaning of life, finding your purpose and living your purpose. So those three clues, what do you cry about? What do you sing about? And what do you dream about? Those three clues can help you find your purpose. For some of you, if you're familiar with the DISC and you've worked with me any length of time, you probably have a DISC personality assessment. And on the front page of your DISC is going to be a one-word identifier based on, you know, your personality assessment. That word can be a clue as to what your purpose is. My word is persuader. I'm a persuader. I'm an ID on the DISC. So I have been given the gift of verbally persuading other people. I could use it for good or I could use it for evil. I think I use it for good. I want to persuade you today that you have a purpose that is unique to you, that was given to you by your creator, and that you are going to have a happier, more fulfilling, joyful life if you spend some time to figure out what that purpose is and then align yourself to it. Wouldn't it be nice to know that when you got up every day and you looked at your to-do list, that you could actually understand what is my purpose, and then you could ask yourself, does this activity move me in the direction of my purpose, or does it not? Wouldn't that be nice? What if you could say to someone who wants you to do something, I'd love to help you with that, but that is not part of my purpose, so I can't. Wouldn't that be nice to be able to say no with a clear conscience and the confidence to say, you know, that's not what I'm here for? Versus feeling like, you know, people just need 2 minutes of your time that ends up being 22 minutes or longer, and then you're doing something for someone else and you're not getting the things done that you need to get done. Like, all of us can be pulled in a million directions. There's a lot of people and media and activities that can distract us from what we really need to get done. And so again, you get to the end of the day, you felt like you've been really busy, but not intentional, not productive. You didn't accomplish what you set out to do. Does that make sense? So this week, your homework is to spend some time with those 3 questions to try to figure out what your purpose is. I'm very clear on what mine is. I'm very grateful. It's not because I'm special. It's just because I've done the work to figure it out. I've looked at what are my natural gifts, talents, and skills and abilities. I've looked at what makes me cry, what makes me sing, and what I dream about. And I've been able to successfully marry all of that together to know that each day I'm living my purpose. It's not perfect. I'm as easily distracted as the next person. I'm as easily discouraged as the next person, as easily frustrated as the next person. But it's easy for me to get back on track, right? It's like in football or any sport where a play goes dead because somebody went out of bounds. The play stops, they regroup, and they run it again. So if you've ever run out of bounds like I have, you know what this is like. But when you know your purpose, when you run out of bounds, you call the play and then you go back to the line of scrimmage and you do it again. You don't just keep going. You don't say, well, forget it. I'm out of bounds. So therefore I'll just have no purpose. I'll have no focus. I won't have an impact. I will have no confidence. I won't be free. I can't build momentum. And I won't have any longevity. I want to help you guys avoid that today. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that homework is clear. I want to open the lines now. If anybody wants to jump in and share or ask questions, you can raise your hand, unmute yourself, pop in the chat, whatever works. Give me some feedback, guys. Interesting topic, says Eric. Yeah, it's important work to understand your why. He says, I've been working on getting my why since my kids left. Yeah, if you recently have kids that have flown the nest, flown the coop, left the nest, as the saying goes, for people who have spent, 18, 20 years being a parent, that's a big part of your life. It happens for a lot of couples that for 18, 20 years or however long they have kids around, their purpose together is to raise a family, but they've not attended to the purpose of their marriage. And so the kids go and they're like, who are you? So it's important. I believe that you can know your purpose so clearly that it will show up in every area of your life, your marriage, your parenting, your friendships, your faith, your finances, your physical health, all of those things. It carries you through. So nobody's got anything to add to this conversation? Does anybody know their purpose? Besides me, I can't be the only one. Okay.
Angie, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you think that someone's purpose can change?
Sure.
Because, I've been at that crossroads before where I've been in the education sector and along with doing real estate. Of course, both fields, I think, are still about educating people, just in different ways. But sometimes I find myself at like a crossroads of thinking, okay, maybe there is something else out there that I'm supposed to be doing at this time.
Well, I think it's important to understand that when we're talking about purpose, we're not talking about the activity that you're going to be doing, right? How that shows up. I think for me, I've known since I was a little bitty kid that all I ever wanted to do was teach. In fact, when I was a child, I didn't want to play Barbies or house. I did those things because that was the only way I could then get people to play school. Like all I wanted to play was school. And I only ever wanted to be the teacher. I didn't want to be the student. I want to be the teacher. And so if kids came over, I went over to play with kids. Yeah, we'll play Barbies. We'll play house. We'll play doctor, we'll play, well, maybe not doctor, but, you know, other things. We'll play these games, but then ultimately, can we please play school now? And so, you know, how that showed up in my life has been different over time. But honestly, every job I've ever had, I ended up being the teacher. And I went to college twice to get a degree in education because I thought I wanted to be a school teacher. That is not what I want to be. I learned that pretty quickly when I had kids. It's like being around kids all day. No, thank you. But you know, but the reality is my purpose to have an impact on other people and help them achieve their potential, that has never changed. I couldn't have articulated it that way when I was 18. And it looked different when I was 28 and 48. You know, I'm almost 60. And I'm pretty clear on what it looks like today, but that may change 5 or 10 years from now. So I think, you know, digging deep into what your purpose is of being here. Some people's purpose is to uplift and encourage others. Some people it's to educate others. Some people it's to challenge others. You know, for some people it's to be that nurturing, you know, influence, like whatever it might be. However, you're here to make a difference in the world. Now, how it shows up career-wise, that's, you know, that's all up for grabs. That's step 2. Don't get ahead of that. Figuring out, like, what am I here to do? Right? Again, I thought being a teacher meant you're in a classroom with children and a chalkboard. And it's never looked like that for me. I had one stint as a catechism teacher, and those kids, it was middle school. I wanted to punch them all right in the face. No, thank you. So I was like, oh, I'm not a teacher. No, I've always been a teacher. Just looks different. So don't get caught up in the how. Go backwards to the why. Right? What am I here for? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And then that will help inform the actions that you take. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you.
So back up a little bit. You're getting ahead of yourself. Anybody else?
I was just going to say that was really very helpful, because I tend to think of what is my why in terms of my career. And every time, and you and I have done this more than once, but it's every single time I do it, it's through the lens of my career.
Yes.
And that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, think about that. Because the reality is, so, you know, what I'm doing, it lined up. I didn't set out to do this work. I was a real estate agent. And all I did was find a stack of books that taught you how to be a real estate agent. And I said, well, if I'm going to learn it, the best way to learn it is to teach it, because that's true. You master what you teach. The highest form of learning is getting it in your DNA and teaching it to someone else, right? Think about this in terms of leadership. Forget about real estate or business, but think about this in terms of leadership. The first step is, if I'm leading you, I do it and you watch me do it. The second step is we do it together. The third step is you do it and I watch you do it. The fourth step is you go do it and I'm not even there. And the fifth step is now you teach somebody else to do it. And the process goes over and over and over again. Think about that in terms of leadership, whether you're leading your family, your kids, you know, or an organization. If I'm the only one that can do it, we're limited by how many hours there are in a day. Some of you are already working all of the hours in the day. You're hitting the ceiling. But when now I teach somebody else to do it, I'm getting one step closer to true leverage. And then when I do it with them, we're getting better. Now they do it and I make sure they're doing it right. And then they go do it. I don't have to do it. But even better when they go do it and then they go teach somebody else to do it and the process expands. And now I'm sitting back, you know, contemplating my navel lint or my big why, my purpose. Right. So so that's important to think about. But the reality is that you know, once you kind of get in that mode of what am I here for, then you make decisions about your career and business based on that. Right? So for some people it's a real it may not mean you change what you do. in terms of how you're, you know, how you show up in the economic sector. You may stay in the same job, but you approach it differently, right? Even if we just talk about your schedule. If you're just responding and reacting to what other people are asking of you, you're not living on purpose. You're not running your business on purpose. You're just reacting. But when you're on purpose, you say no, or you say yes. All right, anybody else?
So my disc profile is motivator, so ISD, and it's been interesting over the last couple of years watching my team grow in terms of what they can accomplish and how they approach problems, and what they the way they analyze and the way they bring issues forth and help clarify and then bring a solution back. So it's been interesting to watch the development of the team. And I hope that I've been a part of that just by throwing nuggets out or asking questions. And so it is definitely rewarding. Being a salesperson, I think of myself as a salesperson and not necessarily a motivator or a leader. But that's the world that I live in. And by doing that, it really makes me evaluate how I lead, because I've got to be very cognizant of what I say and how I lead.
Yeah, that's huge. So, if that's part of your natural gifting is to motivate others, So if you were a motivator and you weren't leading people, truly leading them, right? And leadership is not, I do it and you watch me, you do it and I watch you, but ultimately I teach you to do it so you're empowered to go out and do it and then teach other people. At the highest, form of that leadership, if you will, there, when you're really motivating other people to do it, then you never take the problem back. You motivate them, like you help them to find a solution. That's what you're talking about. And ultimately, then it gives you that freedom to have a greater impact in other areas. And truth be told, I started today talking about what I believe to be true is that everyone deserves to be led well. And I don't care what your particular leanings are, but I think we could globally agree at this point that we're lacking in leadership at all levels. And so it's hurting. It hurts us as a people. We want good leadership. Without a vision, people perish. We're perishing. People want to be led well. So where does it start? It starts with me. It starts with you. Lead ourselves well. Lead our families well. Lead our teams well. Lead our customers well. And for some of us, it's getting involved in other organizations at leadership levels, whether it's a local church or a school or a charity or your gym. I don't care where, but show up and lead people. And so, so your natural gifting is motivation. So use it to lead people well.
And I think we determined last week or yesterday, I'm probably at level 2 leadership right now. I've got a long way to go. So it's an interesting journey. It's not always fun and easy, but definitely interesting.
Yeah. If leadership was easy, everybody would do it. It's not easy. By the way, it's easy for us to all sit around and talk about bad leadership. Are we leading? The next time you want to complain about leadership at any level, not making any comments here, ask yourself, where am I leading well or not? What can I do today to exhibit some leadership qualities? Because if we all did it, we wouldn't have to worry about what's going on up there, over there, out there, around there. We'd all just be leading. So your company, your family, your church, your school, your baseball team, whatever it might be, show up and be a leader. I mean, I think that is the key to what ails us. But the reality is that leadership it isn't easy. That's why most people won't do it. And so I challenge each of you this week. Calvin's referring to John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership. And the first level is positional. People follow you because they have to. You're the boss. So if you have somebody on your team and they follow you because, they have to. You write the paycheck. That's positional leadership. That's the lowest level. Unfortunately, for many people, they get the title of manager and that's where it stops. I'm the boss. I've worked for people like that. Have you worked for people like that? The only reason you're following them is because they're signing your paycheck. If not for that, you'd be out of there, okay? So we don't want to aspire to that, but that's where we start. The second level is permission. Permission. And permission leadership says people follow you because they want to. They like you. So it's better than positional, but it's still got its limitations. What is the limitation of permission-based leadership? If you piss them off, they're gone. They're not going to do what you ask them to do. If you say one thing, so you can't ever critique them, you can't correct them, you can't meet with them and tell them what they could do to be better because they won't receive it. So they're like, I'm out, you're a crappy leader. They don't like you. So what that creates is a situation where you always have to be doing what other people want you to do. You're always seeking external validation because the minute that you rock the boat, they don't follow you anymore. So that's not a good place to be either. The third level is production. And that's where we are in this together. Like we lock arms and we go out into the field every day and we make things happen. So you experience a lot of increased productivity. Everybody's getting along. We're working as a team and that feels really good. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of people stop. That feels like the pinnacle to them, but it's not. That's only level 3. Level 4 is people. And that's when you pour into other people and they go do the job. So you're not doing the job every day. They're doing the job and your job is to pour into them. So you truly become a coach and a mentor of your team, but then they go do the work. And then level 5 is pinnacle. Now, pinnacle leadership is the people and, that they write books about and movies about, Jesus, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama. Like these are pinnacle leaders. And these are people that change the world. They truly do. So, hey, it's something to aspire to, but let's at least get to level 4 where other people are doing the work and we're working on the people, right? The people are doing the work and we're working on the people. So go out and find a way to lead, but more importantly, find your purpose. And if I can help you in any way, please let me know. I'm here for you guys. All right. Any last things? Good stuff today? Yes. Awesome. All right. Make it a great week, everybody. See you soon.